Lee Haejin bursts into Frontier Town's dusty saloon, gun blazing and fists crackling with the celestial blade. He corners General Kwon Tae-sun, whose smug grin shatters as the bounty hunter's steel whip slices through the tyrant's armor. Yoon Si-woo rifles the crowd, Mira Red Alvarez drops a concealed derringer, and the Crimson Syndicate's banner burns, signaling the first true showdown of the martial Wild West. Lee Haejin slams the Crimson Syndicate smuggler's wagon, pistols blazing, while Yoon Si-woo snipes the fleeing guards from the ridge. Mira Red Alvarez slides a vial of Shaoxing wine into his hand, whispering intel on General Kwon's hidden cache.
Lee approaches the shelf, intent on finding the ledger that lists the syndicate's routes. The keeper of the tavern warns him to ignore the curious gazes, blocked by the uneasy vibe of a town and used to outsiders. Lee forces a smile, nods, and asks why strangers flood the area lately. The keeper sighs, cites the unstable atmosphere and recent spikes in magical storms, then slides a folded note across the bar. The note reveals a meeting spot, but the cost is a lingering suspicion that the town's peace teeters on a knife's edge.
You think you can hide?
The torn map hints at a hidden depot, and Lee's gut tightens. Yoon Si-woo appears, gun drawn, demanding answers from the trembling survivor. He wants the syndicate's courier to talk, but the courier snarls, claiming he's only a pawn. The courier's fear blocks any confession. He threatens to blow the whole convoy if pressed. Si-woo steps forward, slams the barrel of his rifle into the courier's chest, forcing a gasp of pain that cracks the courier's resolve. The man finally mutters the rendezvous point, spilling a handful of ink-stained papers. Si-woo snatches them, but the courier's last breath splatters on the sand, sealing his silence forever.
You're too late, Lee.
Lee clutches his wound, eyes burning with renewed fury.
The Crimson Syndicate's enforcer lunges, clutching a torn note. He wants to use the note to claim the bounty promised by the Purim Union. The note's torn edges and the enforcer's shaking hand block a clear exchange. He snarls, that, then stammers. About that, O 3SNII. He thrusts the ragged paper toward Lee, shouting, "It to pay the Purim Union for a bounty." Lee snatches the note, eyes narrowing as the enforcer spits. "What did you say? You used that to pay for the bounty?" The note burns his palm, sealing a pact with the Union that could turn allies into foes. Lee corners the jittery traitor, demanding the stash of stolen Shaoxing wine.
You feel the knife edge of betrayal as the merchant's pleas turn into a desperate scream for help. Lee's heart pounds. He knows the hidden ally's arrival could tip the balance, but the Union's gunfire roars louder. Ghost lunges, his movements a desert wind, snatching the sack and flinging the loot across the road. Lee's hand tightens on his revolver, ready to fire the next round that could end the standoff. The merchant collapses, blood staining the sand, his final gasp echoing the cost of greed. The price here is the merchant's life and the flash of gunpowder that follows. He has no idea what's waiting. Lee Haejin eyes the battered crate, his jaw set. He needs the supplies to pay the bounty on General Kwon's lieutenant and keep his crew moving. The crate sits under a rusted wagon, guarded by two drunk Murim Union thugs who laugh at his approach. He steps forward, pulls his revolver, and fires a warning shot that cracks the wagon's side, sending splinters flying. The thugs scramble, dropping their weapons, and the crate slides free into Lee's grasp. The cost is a fresh wound on his shoulder, blood soaking his coat, and the thug's angry shouts echoing behind him.
Good, this should be enough.
Union commander storms the shattered market, gunfire snapping around him as Lee thrusts up a jade ring, demanding his price while blood pours from his side. Lee feels betrayal searing his wound, his crew's starving hunger gnawing at him, and the fragile hope of the bounty slipping like sand through his clenched fist. A drunken guard blocks the coveted crate. The broken bridge looms ahead, and the shadowy mercenary's single word summons echo, leaving Lee's survival hanging on a razor-thin thread. That impact was felt through the screen. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari for more. Jan Hyung's noodle soup burns, but the outlaw gang already storms the inn. The heat of the broth mirrors the panic in his chest as the door splinters. He darts to the window, eyes scanning for an escape route, while bullets ping off the wooden beams. Every heartbeat drums louder than the gunfire. He grabs a loose plank,
lifts it, and hurls it at the nearest thug, buying a split second. The plank shatters, the thug stumbles, and the opening widens just enough for a sprint. The scent of smoke and steel burns his throat as he bolts toward the dark alley. And that's not even the worst part. The Purim Union's leader strides through the market, his presence calming the restless townsfolk. He claims the Union runs real properly, promising safety if everyone follows the line. Residents nod, their faces weary from constant complaints, eager for any stability. An outsider, Jan Hung, steps forward, his voice cutting through the murmurs, demanding answers about the Union's true motives. The leader's smile fades, his eyes flicker with suspicion, and he orders his guards to escort Hung away. The crowd disperses, uneasy, as the Union's grip tightens, leaving Hung to wonder if he's merely a pawn. If you want more daily recaps, hit that subscribe button now. The Union's calm masks a storm brewing beneath. Jan Hung leans against the cracked wall, trying to catch his breath, while a ragged gunslinger leans in, eyes narrowed. The gunslinger wants answers about the tricksters who ripped him off, but Hung's nerves keep him from spilling the truth. The gunslinger snarls, "Hi-ho that right, Hyung Nim," and points to a fresh bruise on his nose, a cruel reminder of the betrayal. Hung swallows, his throat dry, and finally nods, letting the pain speak louder than words.
After those wretch ripped me off with trickery, they broke my nose like this.
The gunslinger leans closer, his grin twisted, demanding proof of the loss. Jan Hung glances at the lanky man beside him, Jan Hyung, whose reputation as a con artist precedes him. He wants to keep Hyung's dubious skills from ruining the fragile piece. Hyung smirks, shrugging off the title, and the crowd murmurs, confused by his presence. A sudden shout erupts as someone yells, "Con artist!" The word slices through the air, and an angry mob turns toward Hyung, fists raised. Hung feels his heartbeat slam against his ribs. He must shield Hyung or lose the village's trust. He steps forward, arms spread, demanding the crowd's attention, buying Hyung a moment's reprieve.
And over here is Jan Hyungnim, who uses the Jan surname.
Jan Hung darts toward the back door, heart hammering, desperate to vanish before the guard reconnects. He wants to disappear into the night, but a sudden crash blocks the exit. An overturned cart spills its load of gunpowder, igniting a small blaze. Smoke curls, choking the air, and the guard's shouts grow louder, urging his men forward. Hung scrambles over the wreckage, feeling the heat lick his boots, and squeezes through a narrow gap between crates. He emerges into the alley, coughing, his coat singed, while the guard's silhouette fades behind the flames.
Oh.
The alley's darkness hides a figure waiting with a gun. Jan Hung pauses, chest heaving, as a guttural growl reverberates from the shadows.
Jan Hung bursts from the inn, breath ragged, heart pounding. He needs to put distance between himself and the burning doorway, but the narrow alley swarms with roaming militia who heard the alarm. He darts left, slams the door shut behind him, then kicks a wooden crate, sending it skidding across the cobbles to create a momentary barrier. The militia hesitate, guns flashing, buying Hung precious seconds. He seizes the gap, sprinting toward the distant dock where a small boat waits, hoping the water will hide his trail. And that's not even the worst part. The dock looms, mist curling over the river's surface, while the militia's shouts echo behind. Jan Hung bursts from the inn, leaping onto the dock's creaking boat as the shattered oars snap, and he forces the frayed rope to hold his weight while militia lanterns flare behind him. He clutches the only functional gun he finds in the hidden compartment, feeling its cold metal promise revenge and hope. Yet the weight of his wounded comrade's fate presses on his heart. A shadowy figure emerges from the mist, gun raised, and the tunnel ahead yawns open, darkness swallowing the light as the rope threatens to snap, leaving Jan's escape hanging by a thread. There was a hidden detail in this chapter you probably missed. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari, and I'll reveal it next time. The branch manager bursts into the dusty tavern, his brother's blood-stained jaw still hanging limp, flames licking the wooden beams behind him. He slams his fist on the table, eyes blazing with fury, demanding answers from the lone wanderer who just left a mess of bodies. The wanderer narrows his gaze, ready to fight or flee, while the manager's men crowd the doorway, knives glinting. The tension snaps like a drawn bowstring. "Pooh, you done look that surprised. Do you know who I am?" The manager's rage fuels a showdown no one expected. The wanderer watches the manager straighten his coat, badge flashing, claiming authority as the Martial Alliance's local chief. The wanderer points at the sect leader and Jin Chung-suk, claiming they're the only ones who could fake martial knowledge, and vows he can handle them alone. The manager's eyes flash, his mind racing for leverage. Then he mentions his subordinates ready to crush any threat. The wanderer's voice drops, questioning whether his big brother will stay still when he awakens. The manager's silence answers, a cold no hanging in the air. The crowd leans in, each breath holding the weight of impending bloodshed. The wanderer's resolve hardens. He knows the next move could free his brother or seal his fate.
My subordinates will handle you.
The brother's fate now hangs on a single, unseen decision.
Dust swirls as Lee Junho bursts into the dim tavern, his boots cracking the old wooden floor. He slams a battered map on the table, pointing to the dead-end canyon where the cult hides the relic. "We strike at dawn," he growls, eyes flicking to Kim Soo-jin, who nods and sharpens his twin daggers. Park Hae-jin darts forward, handing a vial of fast-acting poison, while Choi Tae-woo plants a concealed trap beneath the doorway. The plan ignites, fate trembling on the edge of steel.
Lee Junho bursts into the mayor's opulent hall, shattering crystal chandeliers as he confronts Kang Min-soo. Shin Black Lotus, Haeri lunges, only to be sliced cleanly in half by Junho's Wild West strike. Junho bursts from his cover, his boots crushing dust as he charges the nearest guard. He slams the guard's sword with a steel-kissed fist, sending the blade clattering to the ground. The guard collapses, clutching his throat, while Junho snatches the sword and swings it toward the fleeing cultist. A stray spark ignites a pile of oil, and flames lick the walls, casting frantic shadows. The heat sears Junho's arm, but the blaze forces the cultist to retreat, leaving the relic trembling in the firelight. Lee Junho forces his jaw open, tasting blood metal as the stranger snarls, then lunges, shattering a rusted barrel and sending a cascade of dust and metal shards toward the Black Lotus gang's desperate defenders. He stakes his brother's life on proving the assault was accidental, while the branch manager's ink-spilled ledger threatens to condemn the younger man's family, ripping hope from his trembling heart. A ricocheting bullet ignites an explosion that hurls a shattered crate toward Junho, and as he ducks, a hidden figure steps from the shadows, gun aimed, leaving the outcome of the showdown hanging on a trembling trigger. Don't settle for mediocre robotic recaps. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari for cinematic storytelling. Blood scents the wind. 100 dead riders thunder toward the lone outlaw. Lee Junho feels the world tilt as the first bullet whistles past his ear. He knows the governor's men are closing in, desperate to end the Silver Guard's interference. Their numbers swell, but his resolve tightens. He cannot let Frontier City drown in tyranny. He drops to one knee, pulls his pistols, and fires 2 rapid shots, each echoing like a promise. The gunfire forces the attackers to stall, buying his comrades precious seconds. The cost is the sting of fresh wounds on his hands, but the fight lives on.
Idiot.
And that's just the beginning. Lee Junho rides into Frontier City as gunfire erupts, his silver revolver spitting fire while his fists crackle with raw martial force. He darts past Governor Kwan's mercenaries, shoves the tyrant's flag into the dust, and orders Mia Sharp Eye to cover the retreat. Haru's ley line pulse flashes, signaling the Black Lotus clan's ambush, and the Silver Guard springs into lethal motion.
What, that wretch just killed Sanjayong and Gumun.
Lee Junho spots the hulking silhouette blocking the alley's exit. He knows the only way forward is through that ironclad monster, not around it. The creature's guttural growl reverberates, shaking dust from the broken shutters. Panic erupts among the guard's younger members as the monster barrels forward. What the? He's a monster. Why is someone like that appearing here? A trembling rookie shouts, clutching his rifle. Freaking, let's run first. Boss, help us! He cries, eyes wide with terror.
Run now, we're doomed.
Junho snarls, drops his pistols and charges, daring the beast to strike. The monster's claws tear through the ragged fence, scattering the guard's formation. Pathetic fools. It snarls, voice dripping contempt. Boss, we're no match against him. A wounded scout gasps, blood staining his shirt. We need you to step forward and... He stammers, hand trembling over a cracked pistol.
The thug reveals the true enemy. The ancient clan backed by the Empire. A relic of the old dynasty that has tormented settlers for a century. Junho's resolve hardens. He must crush this hidden power to free the frontier. The clan's legacy blocks his path, their influence spreading like a cancer through the new lands. He points his pistols at the thug, demanding he name the clan. The thug whispers, "Non-Win High, supported by the Empire, an ancient clan of the old dynasty, tormenting those who try to plant roots." The revelation ignites a fire in Junho's heart, ready to blaze through the Empire's darkness. He has no idea what's waiting.
Non-Win High, supported by the Empire.
As the remaining hunters reload, Chen flips the jade blade, its edge singing against the stone. He channels the dormant chi, sending a wave of energy that knocks the guns from their hands. The hunters stumble, clutching at the sudden pressure in their chests. Chen seizes the moment, sprinting toward the narrow canyon mouth, the blade's light casting long shadows on the walls. Behind him, the hunters scramble, their desperation turning into a chaotic chase. Chen's heart pounds, knowing every step brings him closer to the unknown dangers of the canyon. The canyon walls whisper, promising both refuge and ruin. Zhang Qian shatters the basalt seal with a chi-charged strike, unleashing the jade blade's radiant edge while the hunters' rifles fly from their hands in a wave of pure energy. He feels destiny crushing his shoulders, knowing the blade could finally fulfill his quest for true martial mastery. Yet the loss of his rivals' lives fuels a gnawing guilt that threatens to choke his resolve. The canyon seals behind him, a massive war machine thunders awake, and an unseen darkness watches, promising a lethal force that could snatch the blade from his grasp before he even steps into the next chamber. The next chapter recap drops in days. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari before it goes live. His organs survive, but the blood loss will kill him in minutes. The wounded warrior clutches his side, eyes flashing panic as he feels life slipping away. He knows a child hides in the carriage's hollow, his only chance to survive. The carriage blocks his reach, the rough wood splintered from battle. He forces his trembling hand to his belt, pulling a hidden dagger, then slashes at the rope binding the carriage, hoping to drag it free. The rope snaps, the carriage lurches, and the warrior's breath hitches. He drops the dagger. The child's tiny hand slips from the gap. And that's not even the worst part. The carriage rolls forward, wheels grinding dust across the cracked road.
A seasoned martial artist steps forward, surprised that anyone ever asks a fighter to teach a medical art. He scoffs at the idea of using ki to block vessels, noting that Imperial forces rely on raw power to shred opponents, not subtle pressure points. Yet he admits no one has ever tried to channel ki through bare hands to create openings. The warrior eyes the newcomer, wondering if this untested blend could buy him a miracle.
First time a martial artist asks for a medical technique.
The clash of ideals promises a breakthrough or a fatal mistake. The wounded man clutches the stranger's sleeve, voice cracking as he begs for a way to repay the aid.
Li Jae-hoon slams the shadow blade into Governor Kwan's militia, sparks flying as bullets ricochet off his steel-edged gauntlets. Mira Kim's rifle thunders, felling the Crimson Bandits while Tao Iron Fist Lee shatters the earth beneath Raven Mori's horse, sending the outlaw sprawling. Elder Sorcerer Daehyun summons a vortex, but Unipark's sigil seals it, and the frontier erupts in raw, unfiltered chaos.
Lee Jae-hoon storms the dusty saloon, shadow blade flashing as he shatters the Crimson Bandit's table. Mira Kim drops a perfect shot, splitting the rival's gun barrel, while Tao Iron Fist Lee blocks a barrage of cursed bolts from Elder Sorcerer Daehyun. The convoy finally sights the dim lights of Nam Jack Lake, relief flickering in every tired face. The guide steps forward, acknowledging the rider's blame with a weary grin. "Well, you're not the only reason." The words hang in the cold air, a thin veil over the looming danger they still can't see. As they dismount, the shadows around the lake stir, hinting that the night's true threat has already begun to awaken. You watch the corpse crumble as the last breath leaves him, realizing the dead man fell just yesterday at high noon. The survivors around him gasp, whispering that all the fallen fell together, as if a single strike erased them.
Zhang Qian slams the reins as his ragged caravan bursts into the haunted Nam Jack Lake camp, only to discover the hidden trail leads straight into an ambush of spectral warriors. He watches his wounded comrade bleed out, feeling the weight of his own miscalculation crush the hope of every survivor who clings to a fleeting chance of redemption. A guttural howl erupts from the darkness as an unseen force drags the fallen rider's corpse toward the lake, leaving Zhang Qian trembling, unsure whether the dead will rise as allies or enemies. The arc is heating up and the uploads are getting faster. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari, now's the time. Li Jun bursts into the council's dust-scarred citadel, wild energy crackling around his gauntlet. He shatters the iron doors, forcing Counselor Armand Blackthorn to cower as Mara, Shade Kuro lunges from the shadows. With Myra's healing sigil blazing and Ez's modified pistols blazing, June drives the enforcer Silas Varick into a desperate, blood-soaked retreat. Li Jun slams the wild energy relic into the cracked earth, eruptions of violet lightning spiraling toward the oncoming convoy. Counselor Blackthorn's horse whinnies, its eyes wide with terror, as Silas, the Iron Fong, Varick leaps forward, cyberfangs glinting. Mira's son darts beside June, brandishing a salvaged syringe, while Ezekiel's steam rifle crackles, sealing the showdown. The group reaches the outskirts of the battered village just as night falls. June's goal shifts to securing the child's safety and finding medical help. The broken streetlights flicker, casting long shadows that whisper of past horrors. Mira rushes to the child, cradling him gently, while the dim alleys for a sign of the town's healer. An old woman emerges, clutching a satchel of herbs, and points toward the infirmary. June grabs the child's hand, urging him toward the building, his own wounds throbbing with each step. The cost: a fresh wave of blood stains his coat, marking him as a target for the council's hunters. June darts behind a rusted wagon as the sniper's bolt whistles past, missing by inches. He wants to close the distance to the rider and demand answers, but the rider's horse kicks up a cloud of ash, obscuring his sight. June smashes the wagon's side, sending a spray of metal shards toward the rider, buying a moment. The rider slams the horse to a halt, pulls a gleaming pistol, and fires 2 rounds that embed themselves in the wagon's frame. June feels the sting of the ricochets and knows the rider is no ordinary scout. He's a council enforcer. The enforcer's cold stare locks onto June, promising a brutal showdown. The Real chase begins now.
You crazy wretch.
Li Jun slams the wild energy relic into the ironclad gate, unleashing a blinding vortex that shreds Silas, the Iron Fong Varick's cyberclaws, and sends Mara, Shade Kuro spiraling into the sky. Mira's son watches June's pulse flare as the relic's power promises salvation. Yet the cursed fire sputters, threatening to consume everything they fight for and leaving June teetering between triumph and annihilation. The vortex collapses, revealing a hidden chamber pulsing with darker energy, and an unseen adversary whispers from the shadows, promising a reckoning that could shatter the fragile alliance forever. Bloodthirsty, mountain-splitting monster hunts his own child in the cursed Wild West. The bandit chief eyes the trembling captive, his grin sharp as a broken blade. He wants the last of the rebels dead, to erase any chance of retaliation. The captive's broken leg and the dust-filled wind block any quick escape. The chief steps forward, hand already gripping his saber, and snarls that he has no intention of sparing anyone. The captive's breath catches as the steel glints, sealing his fate.
It's time to finish off this bandit group of yours.
The saber swings and the ground drinks red. What comes next changes everything. The swordsman stumbles back, clutching his wounded hand, his mind replaying tales of ancient masters who fell to demonic arts. He wants redemption to prove he can still master his own fate. The maddening whisper of the demonic energy surrounding the stranger and his own fading stamina block his resolve. He summons the last of his spirit fist technique, channeling it into a desperate, spiraling strike that pierces the enemy's chest, sending a howl of pain across the plain. The strike shatters the demonic aura, but the swordsman collapses, his body convulsing as the dark energy sears his veins. The cost is his sanity slipping, his breath ragged, as he teeters on the brink of becoming what he despises.
Zhang Qian rides into Dusthaven as gunfire rattles the wooden streets, his eyes scanning the chaos while Old Man Quan whispers forgotten kung fu seals. Across town, Lee Junho and Mira 6-shooter Kim flank the Baron's convoy, pistols blazing. Hiroshi blade Tanaka slices through Crimson Riders, their blood staining the sand. The Silver Guard's thunderous charge shatters Blackthorn's grip, heralding a new dawn for the martial Wild West.
In Dusthaven's scorching noon, Junho bursts through the saloon doors, pistol blazing as Silas Graves' Crimson Riders storm the bar. Mira 6-shooter, Kim snaps a rifle to her shoulder, her shots ringing like thunder, while Blade Tanaka spins, his blade carving arcs of steel through the chaos. The Old Man Quan emerges from the shadows, his presence a silent tide. He sees the wounded, the terrified, and the lingering threat that survived the clash. He wants to teach Junho the forgotten art that can finally seal the chaos. A sudden gust lifts dust, masking Quan's movement as he steps beside the exhausted guard. He places a weathered hand on Junho's shoulder, passing a faint, glowing sigil onto his palm. A promise of power yet to be mastered. The sigil flares, lighting the night, and the bandits' remnants scatter, fearing the unknown force now at play. Junho slams his revolver into the dust, Mira rains twin red arcs, and the trembling bandit leader finally spills the coordinates of his hidden caches, exposing the next wave of terror. Junho bears the crushing weight of every Dusthaven soul, while Mira risks her own breath, knowing each uncovered cache could spare innocent lives or condemn the town to endless bloodshed. Old Man Quan steps from the shadows, promising a forgotten art that could finally end the menace, but the lingering scent of gunpowder hints a deeper enemy still stalks the streets. There's a twist coming that nobody sees coming. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari, you'll want to be ready. Lee Junho slams the tavern door, pistols blazing, as Kong Minsuk's henchmen scramble for cover. Han Sujin hurls a forged barrel into the fray, shattering the gang's shield. Kim Yuri darts forward, slamming a dossier onto Minsuk's desk, proof of his drug empire. Colonel Park Hyunwoo watches, gun trembling, while Shin Ra vanishes into the smoke, vowing revenge. Lee Junho storms the soot-blackened streets of Gyeongju, gun blazing and fists snapping. He shatters Kong Minsuk's drug cache, then corners the smirking colonel, exposing their blood-stained pact. Shin Era darts from the shadows, but Junho's bullet-kissed palm sends her spiraling into a wall of iron forged by Han Sujin. Kim Yuri's inked truth spreads, igniting the city's rebellion. With the shrine's entrance uncovered, the group races to finish their business before dawn, knowing the Empire's scouts scour the area. Rex grunts, Chong Sangik village, people, urging them to secure the last supply drop before nightfall. Their obstacle, a collapsing tunnel that threatens to trap them inside the shrine's lower vault. They scramble, using ropes and brute strength to brace the crumbling stone, pulling each other to safety. The cost is a broken lantern and the loss of precious time, but the coveted cargo, ancient bonds, now rests in their hands.
Chong Sangik village, people.
The lantern dies, but the darkness outside hides a far deadlier enemy.
Exhausted, Junho leans against the dusty ridge, the day's heat still clinging to his skin. He fights the sting of tears he never expected to feel, the memory of his fallen comrades flooding his mind. The silence of the frontier offers no comfort, only the echo of his own breath. He forces the tears back, clenching his fists until his knuckles turn white, refusing to show weakness to the world that already judges him. The bitter wind whips his coat, and a single tear slips unnoticed, carving a line down his cheek. But the real problem is already in motion.
Lee Junho tears through the soot-blackened forge, pistols blazing, shattering the iron door as Han Sujin thrusts a newly forged revolver into his grip, while a hidden militia commander watches, eyes fixed on Jan's mysterious prize. Junho's heart cracks under the weight of his fallen comrades' memories, his tears mixing with dust as he confronts the painful truth that his quest for vengeance may cost him his very humanity. The lone traveler's cryptic warning about a hidden Antmaster looms, leaving Junho poised on a desolate ridge while the Empire's agents close in, their shadows stretching toward an unseen, deadly showdown. The revenge arc is just getting started. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari. He'd lost everything, but the blood-soaked gamble would kill him before sunrise. You sit at the battered table, fingers trembling over the dominoes, desperate to prove you still matter. The owner snarls, demanding a win he knows you can't give, while the regulars leer, ready to crush you with cheap insults. You stare at the pieces, sense your chi sparking uselessly, and realize the only way out is to bluff your way to a win. You slam a domino, the clatter echoing like a gunshot, but the crowd's laughter swells, sealing your fate.
Your luck ends here, fool.
The room tightens around you, and that's not even the worst part. A commotion erupts near the doorway as strangers spill in, their boots thudding against the wooden floor. He squints, trying to read the foreign symbols on their coats, the strange glint of steel at their hips. "Who are those guys?" he mutters, the question hanging heavy. One of them steps forward, eyes locking onto him, and a low voice asks, "Are you Ju Yorang?" The air tightens, tension coiling like a spring. He wants answers, but the strangers keep their secrets, leaving him to wonder what hidden game is being played in his tavern. You feel the sting of betrayal as a young noble's name echoes through the room. The newcomer darts forward, her feet barely touching the ground, her style unlike any he's seen since crossing the ocean. Junho realizes she might be the pioneer of flying martial arts on this continent, a legend the old stories whispered about. He tries to predict her next move, but her unpredictable leaps keep him guessing. Frustration flares as his own technique feels clumsy beside her airy strikes. He lunges, aiming to ground her, but she flips over his blade, landing a swift palm strike that knocks his hat clean off. The cost. His pride shatters as loudly as the hat hits the dusty floor. What comes next changes everything. Three brothers converge on the tavern owner, but a mysterious woman bursts onto the dust-soaked arena, her featherlight kicks shattering the fight and igniting a sudden blaze. The young master watches his bloodied brother fall, losing control of his family's coffers, while Junho watches his heart pound, fearing the fire will consume everything he protects. As the ember-filled wreck smolders, the owner's desperate scream echoes. A hidden adversary watches from the shadows, and the shattered exit promises a lethal showdown yet to unfold. You made it to the end. That means everything. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari and I'll see you next chapter. Junwoo storms the sand-swept ruins, his fists crackling with hidden chi as Lily Red McAllister fires a blistering lead round that shatters the cursed altar. Elder Kaido whispers a forgotten seal, binding Shaman Kaida's spirit before it can devour them. Victor Blackthorn watches from Dusthaven's highest tower, his grin widening. He never imagined the Avenger would bleed the desert red. Han Junwoo bursts into Dusthaven's dim tavern, his fists crackling with chi. Lily Red McAllister fires a silver bullet that shatters a blood-stained banner, exposing Silas Bloodhand Grave's smug grin. Elder Kaido whispers a hidden kata, and the floor erupts in spiraling steel as Junwoo slams Victor Blackthorn's throne, shattering the crime lord's empire in a single, thunderous blow. Junwoo bursts into Dusthaven's saloon, fists crackling as he shatters the broken glass ceiling. Red darts beside him, pistols blazing, while Elder Kaido whispers a hidden kata that rends a Crimson Syndicate thug's armor. Victor Blackthorn watches, eyes narrowed, as Shaman Kaida summons a wailing spirit. The air erupts in steel, gunfire, and raw chi. Revenge ignites the frontier's blood-soaked night. With his pockets empty from a reckless gamble, Junwoo slams his fist into the dusty tavern table, eyes blazing. "If I'm to survive, I'll chase trouble," he snarls, pulling Red's revolver from its holster. The battered deputy, Amelia, slides a wanted poster across the bar, Lord Blackthorn's crimson sigil glaring.
Dust swirls as Zhang Qian rides into the abandoned rail yard, his boots kicking up iron filings. He pauses, eyes scanning the shattered freight cars for any sign of the Crimson Syndicate's hidden cache. A faint echo of clanking metal draws his attention to a rusted locomotive, its doors ajar. Inside, a glint of crimson fabric catches the wan light, Silas Bloodhand Grave's signature banner fluttering like a warning. Qian tightens his grip on the hilt of his saber, ready to claim the loot and expose the gang's next move.
A sudden shout erupts from the back of the hall, startling everyone. "What?" a voice yells, pointing at a cloaked figure slipping through the shadows.
The hall erupts with shouts as Junwoo yells, "Interrupt!" trying to halt the chaos, but the guard shouts, "Tai!" and fires a steam-powered pistol, the blast echoing like a gunshot. A stray bolt hits a wooden crate, splintering it, and a foreign symbol, me, flashes on the shattered wood, a warning from the Crimson Syndicate. Junwoo lunges for the crate, hoping the symbol hides a clue, but the explosion sends him sprawling, his vision blurring. He clutches the ground, feeling the heat of the blast sear his skin, while the crowd screams for order.
Interrupt. Tie.
The broken crate spills secrets, and the next revelation could ignite a war.
Junwoo erupts through Dusthaven's saloon doors, chi-charged fists smashing the ceiling while Lily Red McAllister unloads pistols, and Victor's enforcers crumble beneath the thunderous onslaught. Junwoo fights to clear his name, feeling the crowd's accusations tighten around his throat, while Lily risks her life to protect him, their bond hanging by a razor-thin thread. A shadowed figure bursts through the doorway, eyes glowing with unknown purpose, forcing Junwoo to confront a duel he cannot refuse, leaving Victor's true plan shrouded in lethal uncertainty. You got the recap, now I need the sub. Let's make a deal. Subscribe to Manwa with Hari.